Hello, everybody. Welcome to the post-match reaction, the Let's Talk show for West Ham versus Everton. It did finish Everton 1-0. They got the early goal from Dominic Calvert-Lewin. And West Ham really struggled to break them down after that, Dan. I mean, particularly in that second half, we ran out of ideas. There was a bit of a lack of creativity. Thoughts generally on let's talk about the performance before we start talking about the results and the implications for Europe. Let me know your thoughts on that performance, mate, in the first half and in the second.
From us, not enough to get anything out of the game. I didn't feel like we forced them into anything. I didn't feel like Pickford had much to do. We had a lot of possession, but possession's meaningless in any game for any team when you don't create clear-cut chances. And apart from Benrahma's and Q fouls, we didn't really force Pickford into any saves. So from that perspective, it's disappointing, but you've got to give credit to Everton and the job they did on us. I thought defensively they were superb. Ancelotti got it to a T in terms of how they set up the game, and they deserved the win. We didn't deserve anything from the game.
You took the words right out of my mouth, and we didn't talk before it because we didn't want to conflict and get into the conversation. I thought personally, I hate to say it, Everton did a job on us. They really did a job on us. I thought, first off, some of their pressing from the front was outstanding. It forced us into a hell of a lot of issues. I don't even think Moyes was thinking we're going to have to play out from this type of press that early on. And I thought they really caused us a few problems, particularly when we tried to transition in the middle of the field. They were on us straight away. And the minute West Ham got into that final third, that back three dropped so deep that Mikel Antonio couldn't get in behind, couldn't find any space. And we really didn't have the answer for it. I don't think on the ball we played badly. I thought we kept possession well at times. I thought we did as well as we could have done, but we just couldn't create any clear-cut chances. And it did interest me at one point in that first half where they said West Ham had 5 attempts and Everton had 5 attempts because Everton's 5 attempts were a lot more clear-cut than West Ham's. I couldn't even really remember. West Ham had half chances, and you got to give credit to that Everton defence. They're resolute, solid, made it difficult for us to break down, and frustrating. But sometimes you have to put your hands up and say the better team got the result and they deserved it.
Yeah, exactly. In this instance, they did. That away record this season for them speaks to itself. They've only lost 3 times.
They've not lost in London, apparently, either.
Oh, exactly. Well, there you go then. It's very impressive. And Ancelotti is a very innovative manager with games like this. He knows that we struggle when we've got possession, when the pressure's on us to create something. We struggle, aren't we? Our success this season, our winning formula has come from counter-attacking teams and taking them by surprise rather than, say, having our own initiative and breaking them down like that. So Ancelotti knew that. He sussed it out well before the game. They won everything in the air. Mina and Keane were solid. And we lost Lanzini. I thought he was our best player in the first half. We lost him early on, and that was a big blow. So it didn't go for us in many aspects today, mate. But like you said, you've got to give credit to the winning team, and it's not happened much this season, but they were the better team.
Yeah, I was thinking there's been a few games West Ham have had where we played someone and I thought we've done a job on them. And when it gets done to you, and it's frustrating because you know that Moyes did try and change it. Now, albeit whether bringing on Yarmolenko was the right decision, we will talk about that later on. But we just couldn't affect the game enough. And Lanzini, for me, had we been able to keep him on the pitch, and it's really unfortunate with the injury because I thought he was trying to play through the lines a little bit. He was keeping the ball relatively well. He was under a lot of pressure in that middle of the park at times. And if we were ever going to try and venture into their half in the second half, and we did begin to recede as that half went on, for me, you'd have to have kept him on the pitch. So it was disappointing not to have him on for the full 90.
Yeah, that's the issue with Manu, though, isn't it? He's always very injury prone. As good as a player he is, he never really gets that extended run of game time where he can really build up a decent run of form because sadly he picks up a lot of injuries, whether minor or serious. I don't know how that looked today. He's pulled something clearly, but like you said, he's very good on the ball, even under pressure. I thought Alana Davis had superb games, as dirty as Davis is. And as reckless as he is flying into challenges, he had a good game, Davis. They dealt with us well. But yeah, Manu had 100% passing accuracy when he came off. I think he had the most final third passes in our team as well before he came off. So he was very influential in setting up our attacks as well, mate. But it's a big blow, but it's kind of a blessing as well because Deck's back next week. So it's good timing, if you know what I mean. But it's also not because Manu had such a good game against Burnley. He played well today, so you got to feel sorry for the bloke, haven't you? But
yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. I think, we always sort of sit there, can we? The next level for West Ham is not only being able to keep the ball well, but break sides down. And I think that would have been a step too far to break down an Everton side that have been really resolute against teams that they've gone away to this season. Was always going to be difficult. And I've written in my notes, it was interesting. Mikel Antonio, a lot of the time through the first 20 to 30 minutes, is peeling off to that left-hand side to try and stretch them. And every time we pick the ball up from Creswell or Benrahma, there's no one in the box. That's how frustrated we were. He was coming deep. He was trying to make things happen. But the problem is when you've almost got like a midfield 5 and a back 3. And I thought, again, not to give too much credit to Everton, because obviously we are disappointed that West Ham lost, the back 3 dropping all the time, dropping deeper and deeper. That even when Creswell's tried to ping a ball in behind their defensive line, Mickey can't get onto the end of it. And it was, I couldn't see where we were going to score from. We had a few decent switch passes in there where it opened up. The biggest one for me is Benrahma when it's come out to him, from the header. And if that's Mickey or Souček, maybe it's on target. But other than that, one and Soufal were the only two chances, the clear-cut chances I could think in that 90 minutes.
Yeah. Did you mention the header as well? You did, didn't you?
You've got the header, and then you've got when it's come across to him, and for me, he should have laid it back to Souček, but he has tried to go near post.
Yeah, no, I pinpointed that as well. My only criticism of Thomas Souček is that he should be spraying it quickly rather than these short passes. He had plenty of times in that first half. It's a bit harsh, but it's valid at the same point where he's got to switch it to Creswell quicker, because the impetus of our attacks allowed them to get back into shape, mate, and it was too easy for them. It was playing into their hands. But it was times against Burnley when we moved it really quickly, and they struggled with that. And I don't feel like we did that enough today. I thought we struggled with it. They got back into shape and they defended it well. But yeah, you've got to take chances, like you alluded to. Benrahma, for me, indefensible. He's got to score that. I think any other player does.
Gets it on target. You've got to test the keeper in this, surely.
Keeper, yeah. So what if heading's not his main strength? You've got to score that as a professional footballer, and that's my criticism of him. He's played really well against Burnley, but if he wants to be at that top level, he needs to do this consistently and put in them performances week after week. And that's not he's not doing that. So I didn't feel like he had a great game today, to be honest with you. But then again, not a lot of our attacking players did. I thought Lingard's been quiet recently for the last few weeks. He's not immune from criticism, despite how well he's done this season. I think since the Newcastle game, he's not quite been as influential. But then again, them standards, I didn't expect him to carry them on, to be honest, because he was on top of the world, wasn't he? So, them chances that we had, we should have taken, but on another week, we probably would have done. So it's just not our day, mate.
Yeah, Benrahma is an interesting one, I think, in this game. At times, he wanted to drive and take players on and get in behind. But I think there was a theme with this team in terms of that pacing, passing the ball and switching the play quick enough. Because when Everton are set up the way that they are, and don't get me wrong, it's very difficult to break down. The only way that you can really break it down is by switching it really quickly. And in that second half, it did feel like to me, West Ham, there were a couple of times the switch was on. We didn't play that pass quick enough. And I wonder whether if Manu's on, if Declan Rice is on with their passing range and their intensity.
Well. Yeah, even well does that. Exactly.
And it's not. I'm not really criticising Souček. It's really hard to, I guess. But I think West Ham as a side need to learn that that's who they could come up against. Because where we are at the minute, obviously none of us would have expected to be fifth in the league where we are and possibly get in Europe. No. But we will come up against teams that will try and sit a little deeper against us. And we've got to be able to come up with a formula for that. I think part of that also comes down to the options off the bench. To be honest, there's so little. I mean, I would have gone with a front two, and I would have hoped that Bowen would have gone upside along Antonio just to give us another option. What do you think about that, mate? How would have you changed that game to try and have got something out of it?
Yeah, I said to my old man during the game, I said, this is where we could do with a Josh King next to Antonio. Someone like that, because, Mickey was a bit isolated today, I thought. Mina's a very physical presence, dealt with him well. Obviously, they brought Holgate on as well, didn't they, to replace him? And they had Keane, Godfrey as well, who was superb, by the way. So they had a lot of physical centre-backs and, like you've alluded to, Defo could have done with even a quicker player like Bowen around Antonio, because it didn't feel like Bowen was involved enough when he came on. And he's not. I think he's been better in them forward roles rather than on the wing this season when he's played there. So, I can understand the decision behind Yarmolenko to give him a go, because he's got a goal in him at the end of the day. He's not. I watched your show just then with Dennis, and I know he's a very frustrating footballer. And yes, he's not the most energetic, he's not the most dynamic, but he'll get a goal. And I feel like Benrahma was fading out of the game slightly. So I can understand that thinking behind the substitution. But then again, it's about the squad depth. There's not enough on the bench there to bring on and think, hang on, we can nick a goal. But on Everton's side, they've got Josh King at the post. So that's the difference.
Yeah, you look Richarlison, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, all players in transition that can be really effective. For Calvert-Lewin did well today, and the goal was the centrepiece of that. I think once Everton got that goal and we got to the second half, you knew, particularly with the way that it started first five, that Carlo was setting up for that 1-0. Let's talk about the defending for the first goal. I thought Everton were very clever in trying to isolate both of our centre-backs. And to be honest, I thought Diop would be the weaker of the two in dealing with that. But it was, of course, Calvert-Lewin that's peeled off Craig Dawson. And the minute that Dawson has allowed him, and probably not seen that run, allowed him to get across him, it's done. Because he's not catching him. No. And he's been done by the movement. And it's frustrating how a lot of the time West Ham can be done by goals and possibly deliveries and set pieces. We were done by really a ball over the top, something that we hadn't really switched on to. And the minute you give Everton some kind of impetus in this game, it was always going to be difficult to get back into it.
Yeah, especially Calvert-Lewin as well. You know, he's a good player and he had a few yards on Dawson, didn't he? And once you get them few yards, he's not the quickest Calvert-Lewin, but neither's Dawson. So it was a good finish as well. Fab couldn't do much about it. But for me, mate, the thing is with this is I don't get why they didn't try to play him offside. Because it came from deep, didn't it? And I don't know if it's that communication problem between Diop and Dawson. But Diop, like we always say, he stepped up above the defensive line that left Dawson obviously behind. And then Calvert-Lewin came across. It's an intelligent run, but it's very soft for me. It's come from the defensive line, the centre backs. It's gone all the way through, pierced through, and he's gone on and scored. I just think it could be managed a bit better. We could have played the offside trap maybe, because we knew with Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison, we're going to get them runs. We're going to get them runs in behind, like I said on the preview show. And they've done it today. He won the flick-ons, very effective at that. Richarlison running behind was a pain all game. And that front two combination was very effective for Everton.
I wonder whether he's gone the front, and I didn't expect them to play two up top. I wonder whether he's done that, and Dawson and Diop have been too afraid to play a slightly higher line because they feel that they could get done in behind, and that's where that's come from. I wonder whether that happens if Ogbonna's there, because I say that. I mean, Dawson is experienced, but just in terms of Ogbonna being brave enough to play a little bit of a higher line, and they did it against us in the Cup. I do remember Everton getting a goal, Calvert-Lewin, exactly the same type of situation. So Carlo did his homework, and in this type of game where West Ham did have the ball, we would step up a little bit higher at times. I mean, you don't step up as a side, as a back four, you can get done. And that's it's tough for me because normally we're sitting here saying, well, West Ham didn't do this. And there is part of that we weren't creative enough or we didn't come up with another type of game plan. But the truth is, like, I think Carlo just got us down to a T, just understood who he was playing against. And we couldn't influence it enough to change it. And it's disappointing.
Yeah, and as well in the second half, mate, Calvert-Lewin, I don't know if you remember, he had the ball and Richarlison was like in acres of space, but Richarlison actually done the opposite of what he should have done. He ran towards Diop rather than running to the space, so that would have been 2-0 as well. Things like that.
King could have easily have scored, couldn't he, as well?
Scored, yeah, because he was, I think Kufar was isolated on him, wasn't he? But that was when Calvert-Lewin rounded the keeper, wasn't it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm about to say Lingard at least made we're talking about Lingard being quiet, but he did make a very, very good recovery challenge that I thought they would have scored from.
He did. That was a superb ball from Calvert-Lewin, wasn't it, to be fair? Who was it, Coleman who got up there? Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Who impressed me today, because I got to be honest, in my pre-match content, I thought that he wasn't going to be as effective and he wasn't going to be able to get up and down, and he wasn't as athletic as he used to be, but fair play to him. I thought he pressed us really well on the wide areas, stopped us getting forward, slowed us down at times. It was really hard for us to be direct. And you see Bowen, I think, came out to that left-hand side, but Coleman dealt with him pretty well. And it's
solid, isn't he? Solid player.
It's tough. It's tough. I mean, probably a lot of concerns now to do with injuries. Obviously, it looks like Manu, for me, with that type of injury, probably out for the season, probably out for those last 3 games. And luckily, we have got Declan coming back in. Creswell, that looks a bit of a naughty injury as well, because he wasn't able to continue and Frederick's come on. Do you think that's it for possibly Creswell and Lanzini for this season?
Yeah, I do. I don't think the minor injuries are they. I think, they looked like they've pulled some. I don't know, mate, but yeah, I think that'll be them finished. Whether you put Fredericks there to rectify that or Johnson, I don't know. But, neither are. I don't know. They're both big blows, aren't they? It's a time for Fredericks and Johnson, either one, to step up and show that what they're about in the last 3 games, 3 massive games as well. It's not ideal to lose Cresswell and Lanzini, but then again, we've got cover with Deck coming back. It's more about the fullbacks that I'm concerned about.
Yeah, it is a concern. I think I wasn't too perturbed necessarily by Fredericks coming in because I know he'd played left wing back before, and I thought maybe something direct down that left hand side, get forward, which we didn't do enough, to be honest. We didn't stretch him nearly enough as we
didn't use the width enough, did we, today? At all.
That was the frustrating part for me. That has happened with West Ham previously, where we just don't stretch teams quick enough. We don't use the width. We don't try and pull them out of position. I know when you've almost got a bank of 9 in front of you or sitting deep, it's going to be tough to try and get something. And I'm not even saying necessarily we could have got even a header on target because Antonio's coming out wide, Souček's deep. It's tough, but just to pose a few more questions. And
because that's what we did well against Burnley, mate. We used the width really effectively. That's where our goals stem from. You look, Benrahma cutting in, crossing it in. Superb cross Antonio got on the end of it. Kufal for Antonio's first goal. The width was there today, but we just, I don't know, there was more emphasis on that tippy-tappy stuff outside the box with Lingard, Benrahma, and it didn't quite work, did it? Because they had that low block. They compact the centre of the pitch because they probably saw it coming, and fair play to Ancelotti. He's done us today, and it's just one you got to move on from, and hopefully Brighton next week. I know we always struggle there, but they've got a few key players missing, so we need to bounce back.
Listen, I mean, the season's not over. Clearly not. We've got 3 winnable fixtures. You've got, like you touched on, Dunk out, Mopé out, players that West Ham can go and again cause them some issues. Even with our injuries, I think that Declan will be a huge plus backing this side, even if it is just for mentality and drive. And we know what he gives. Even in times where West Ham are struggling in that midfield, he'll always be willing on the ball, always driving forward. And I don't think he would have made a difference today, but I just think in these next 3 games where the side is going to have to keep strong and positive, that him coming back is a plus. But again, for me, a lot of it's to do with squad depth today. Not having a striker to come off the bench, not having that other focal point to get in behind and stretch him. But
what about centre mid or
an actual centre mid or someone that can pull him out. I mean, it was always going to be tough. It was always going to be tough to draw him out. But
yeah, we said, didn't we? Preview show that this was our toughest game left.
I wasn't anticipating them to have switched it to a 3-5-2. I didn't think they would do that. I thought they would match us 4-2-3-1. I thought there would be vulnerabilities there, but Ancelotti basically covered that kind of detachment sometimes between his defence and his attack, and the midfield packed out and got back really quickly. And once that happened, we just didn't have the space to operate in. In terms of positives, because I do think we've got to try and finish this on a little bit of a positive. I know it's tough. Diop had a really good game. A game where, to be fair, I've criticised him previously, but I thought he matched Richarlison on occasion in terms of runs, in terms of heading ability. He was decent, aggressive in winning the ball. Can't fault his performance.
I think he had a good game. Yeah, I think he was solid in terms of aerial. I think, obviously Dawson had a shaky game. I thought Diop, the only concern was when Richarlison's running at him, he struggles, doesn't he? Because Richarlison's got quick feet. But, in terms of aerial and overall defensive display today, I thought he was good. Yeah, I thought he had a good game. We got to give him credit where it's due, because we normally slack him on this.
Who's the agendas? You got to try and pick the positives of it.
It's all about the balance, mate, isn't it? It's all about the balance.
It impressed me. I thought, you could say that about Richarlison, but I think you could equally apply that to Dawson, because if Richarlison's getting at Dawson, that he's not keeping up. With Diop probably used his attributes as well as he could have done, and again, I just didn't expect it to be Dawson that the ball would go over or would go around. That's the only thing I never saw. But
been a lapse in concentration. I got a question for you, mate, because I saw this on the timeline. I'm going to put you on the spot here. I'm joking. Cool. Do you think that goal happens if Declan Rice is there? I saw that on my timeline and I thought, but it's not really. It's past the midfield. I don't, because I think even if Dec's playing, he can't do anything about that ball.
I was wondering where you was going with that. Whether you was going to say, I think Declan.
I just seen it on the time. Yeah.
No. Not for me. Because the ball is over the top. Essentially, it's taken out the entirety of the midfield. There was no real challenge for there. where Declan is fantastic is those recovery challenges and really in danger. But I'm telling you now, even if he's getting close to Calvert-Lewin, for me, the run of Calvert-Lewin, the intelligence of it as well, the pace of him against Dawson, he'd already beaten him. The minute he got past him, I was like, he's not catching him. Yeah. I don't think you've got to remember Declan will be sitting just in front of Dawson. So the only way he stops it is if he's read that run and passed him on to Craig Dawson. But these are ifs and buts. The fundamental issue with the result today was not being able to vary our build-up play. That was the only thing. But I'll just caveat it. I know Simon said in the chat talking about thin squad, lack of creative quality. The thin squad for me did it. I just think if you'd had someone else, Josh King, anyone to come on and change the dynamic of it.
Just different options. Yeah.
Like, but saying that, mate, we've seen it before. It could have happened. Someone could have come on. We still might not have got anything. It would have been one of those days because I think Carlo just read it right.
I think it's one of them days, mate, where even if we play out there on our own, we're not going to score. I just think it was one of them days, to be honest. But, them options. Like a few years ago, we had Perez, Hernandez, Carroll and Sacco. 4 different strikers. Imagine if we had someone like that today to call on, like a Perez or Hernandez, just something a bit different next to Antonio. We could have, plucked something out of the sky, but wasn't to be today. They get it spot on. They deserve the 3 points, and it's frustrating, but they didn't create a lot apart from that goal. But...
That's what I mean. They didn't. They really didn't. It wasn't like they were fantastic in build-up play. They were just aggressive. They won the ball at the right times and they played the right passes. And I did say in my pre-match, I was worried that they would try and play that ball over the top because I knew that they could do it, and they did do it, and it was hugely frustrating. If Declan there, you'd expect someone to be pressing Godfrey. Well, possibly, but I think if buts and maybe so, that's further up the pitch.
Exactly. He's not going to go that far up the pitch out of possession, is he? He's going to sit with Souček in a pivot. And that late's comment about Enner Valencia, I won't go that far, to be honest. I wouldn't. Would you? I wouldn't say even Enner Valencia.
We're trying to have a serious conversation here, and you're bringing up Enner Valencia.
Leave him out. Leave him out of this.
Leave him wherever he is. Leave him wherever he is.
That's just brought back some nostalgia. You remember when he was playing for Ecuador and he had to run off because the police were chasing him around the pitch or something mad because of tax or something. You remember that?
You can take the bloke out of West Ham, but you can't take West Ham out of the bloke, and it's as simple as that. I want to touch on Pablo Fornals, who I thought, even though we lacked a little bit of creativity today, I thought he was pretty decent. I thought he made the right decisions. The pass he made to Soufal was superb. His decision making and his passing, his composure on the ball is improving every single time I see him. And I know it's a real slight positive, but he works hard. Even when he misplaces passes, he's making the recovery tackles. In terms of a shining light, if you can get any out of that performance, for me, Pablo Fornals. And given the start of the season and how many people, including myself, were really unsure on him, I just feel he turns up every week and he's improving in quality that we know he's got.
I've always rated him. Every game he puts in a 7 out of 10, nothing less. Today, the best player on the pitch. I know sometimes he misses some sitters, but he makes up for it for work rate and desire. And, he never hides, does he? Even at the end of the game, he's dropping deep, trying to initiate play. And that's what Pablo does. He's a good team player as well as an individual. But we need team players. That's what we built our success off this season. And he had a great game. It's unlucky that Koufal one hit the post. I saw some people as well blaming Bowen for the rebound, but I thought it came at him so quick, mate. It came at him like a rate of knots. How was he meant to do anything with that? That's the problem when they slow it down on the replay, because you immediately assume that he had time to think about it. And someone pointed out on the watch along that he jumped over the keeper, and by the time it hit him. But I think this type of game, you would need that type of luck to fall for you. You would need it almost just to fall off his knee and go into the back of the net without him even being able to. That's the only way we'd be getting a goal in this game. Because we weren't getting it. We weren't getting it for love nor money. And our go-to, our deliveries, we did it against Burnley fantastically. Soufal, Creswell, you're not beating Godfrey, Mina and Keane in the air today, particularly when they're that deep. Impossible. I just don't think the deliveries were good enough today at all. The corners, I didn't... You look at their
set pieces barely beat the first man on a lot of occasions.
You look at their corners in the first half. In the first few minutes, they had 3 corners successively. They're all spot on. They're all really dangerous. Ours today didn't beat the first man. I think Lingard for a free kick towards the end, played it out to Koufal. We lost it. They countered.
Yeah,
it was good enough. And compared to the Burnley game, it was like a different team. But and you've got to take advantage of them set pieces for a game like this when you're not creating much. Get it in the mixer. Get it into a dangerous area. Try and avoid all them, all Mina and all them. And
we'll do something else. The problem, Dan, what I had was, you're getting Lingard to put in an in-swinging cross, and he's putting it so low to Richarlison, who's probably the first man to clear it, rather than trying to put it to the back stick, try and get behind Everton. Even when we had a chance of essentially a free hit, a free delivery into the box, everything's comfortable for them. Everything's in front of them. And with the height that they've got and the area ability they've got, you're not getting behind. And it's annoying. I think it didn't help, to be fair, Creswell going off, because I think if Cres wasn't great today, but if Cres is on deliveries, maybe we're getting a bit more out of him.
Yeah, because Fredericks never has that. He's never been great at deliveries, has he? I know he's not shy of putting a cross in, but they're never as on the money as Cresswell's are. And yeah, like there's a comment there saying Lingard shouldn't take set pieces.
What do you make? I've seen someone talk about Lingard, and I know he's not immune to criticism, but I don't think I quite subscribe to the idea that he should be getting hammered. I think
he shouldn't be getting hammered.
The dip is inevitable, but you've got to look at the type of games that he's playing. And I thought he was relatively productive against Burnley, not effective but productive. And today's one of them days, and it was tough. There's so many players that you could cite with someone like a Lingard today. Do you know what I mean? Mikel Antonio, you could even really cite, although I thought he tried, he did everything that he could do that he normally does. Yeah, but it just didn't have enough going forward, and that falls on a lot of the attacking players.
That's just reactionary Twitter, mate, in it for you. The fact that people are saying he's Maradona, and then he has a few quiet games, which is natural because he's played a lot of minutes. You got to think the last couple of years he's barely played, and then they think he's awful and he's getting slammed. No, he shouldn't get slammed. He's had an off game. He's had a couple of off games. Burnley, like you said, he played his part today. Was one of them. I seen someone as well say Kufar was one of the worst performances. I was like, come off it, mate. Like he's barely
have a day off.
Yeah, like
if you're reviewing the game like that, you're reviewing it from a different point of view. Because for me, it was clear as to what the issue was.
And that comment as well, that comment there is spot on. That if you don't get a goal as an assist as an attacking player in today's game, you're slated. You know what I mean? If you're quiet, it's all about stat padding now. It's about more than that.
Look, Lingard has had the highest, is the second highest in terms of goal involvement since February the 3rd. With only Kelechi and Nacho ahead of him. So I spoke to you about this loads of times, Dan. For me, players get credit in the bank. Lingard is dead. We would not be where we are, even challenging for me, without Lingard. So.
Well, exactly. No, it's a fact we wouldn't, would we? He's basically been a catalyst for us to be where we are. Without him, I don't think we'd be anywhere near, to be honest. I think we'd be around 8th, 9th. So it's a credit to him. He's had a bad game. It's natural. All players have a bad game. Even Messi and Ronaldo do. If he doesn't get a goal or assist in a few games, it doesn't mean he's a bad player. He's got ability. We've seen it. Maybe he's been sussed out a bit recently, but he's the type of player to come out of that bad run of form like he has done, when he came on loan to us to start with and put it in the past. So yeah, all players have a bad game.
Yeah, I'd probably have to agree with that, Tony. Most of it. Well, Benny didn't take his chance well, but it is what it is.
Yeah, Souček's been missing Rice as well because I think we missed him bombing into the box, getting on the end of them crosses.
He only got into the box last 10. It's the only time we saw him try to throw something else.
He don't have the freedom or license to do that with Rice behind him, and that's a big. I feel like that's been taken away from him a bit, and he's been forced to do more defensive work. And that's another formula for us to get a goal. But yeah, who's this Rance Army, by the way? He might need blocking, mate. But
no, they come over and then they put the comments on, and then loads of people come, so they can just stay, just leave them there just to hang about. It's all right, mate.
Put them in the corner.
Put them in the corner. We are going to wrap up here because, to be honest, there's very little I can digest other than the. Well, I mean, you've covered everything. Lack of creativity. Tony's covered it well. A lot of players. I mean, Mark talks about cheering on Manchester United against Liverpool. That will 100% happen. But I would say that, listen, when a team's done a job on you like that, it's tough. It's tough. And, as a football fan, it does happen. We've done it to teams this season. And I hate saying it is what it is, but to be fair, there's not really more we can do. We can get Declan Rice back for Brighton. We can compete with them. They've got key players out, like we touched on earlier. And I think we will cause them a lot of problems in an attacking sense.
I'm just going to say we could be league gunner, couldn't we, at the moment? So it's all right.
Thought Lanzini was playing too far forward. I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. I think he was trying to implement the play a little bit more and obviously influence it. And I thought he was decent in possession, so not too sure for me. Rice and Souček are so effective. Take one of them out. Yeah, bang on. It is what it is. Right, on that note, thanks so much for joining me and Dan for the post-match reaction. We will be back. Well, I will be back definitely for my team that I'd like to see against Brighton, which probably won't be too dissimilar to what we've seen today. What to expect from Brighton. If any of you have seen them today, you will know bang on what they're about. Me and Dan will be back on Thursday with a usual pre-match chat. And then, of course, we'll have to watch along on Saturday, which will be a late one, actually, to be fair. It'll be 7:45. So keep an eye out for that, everyone. Keep your eyes peeled. Take care. Try and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Don't let it get you down too much. Let's not give up hope, as Tony says. Until next time, take care. Come on, you irons.